Welcome back, guys. My name is Buck Whitaker, and today, the Amish can heat a greenhouse in the dead of winter without using gas or electricity, something most people would think is impossible. Imagine waking up to find your greenhouse covered in snow, only to step inside and see every plant frozen and lifeless. But what if there was a way to keep your plants warm without relying on modern technology? Tune in, because we will reveal something that will change agriculture forever. The Amish way of keeping greenhouses warm. The Amish don't waste time searching for modern solutions when nature provides everything they need. They don't just throw up a greenhouse and hope for the best. They plan, they think ahead, and they use techniques that have worked for generations. It all starts with the sun, the oldest and most reliable heat source on Earth. No bills, no breakdowns, and it never takes a day off. The Amish position their greenhouses to catch as much sunlight as possible. They face them toward the southern sky, making sure the sun warms the space all day long. Simple, effective, and free. Before we go any further, it's clear that the Amish have unlocked a heating method far more brilliant than anyone realizes, and this won't be the only thing that will leave you speechless. But what about when the sun goes down? That's when greenhouse design comes into play. The Amish use materials that trap and hold heat, just like a good winter coat keeps you warm even after you step out of the sun. They build with clear glass or plastic to let light in while sealing in warmth. The ground, the pots, even the walls absorb heat during the day and slowly release it at night. Ever notice how a car left in the sun stays warm long after sunset? That's the same idea at work here. The Amish don't just build greenhouses, they create heat traps that keep plants alive through the worst winter nights. For even more warmth, they use something called thermal mass. Sounds complicated, but it's just a fancy way of saying they use dense materials, like stone, bricks, or water barrels, to store heat. These materials soak up sunlight during the day, then slowly release it at night. Think of it like baking bread. The oven stays hot long after you turn it off. With enough thermal mass, an Amish greenhouse stays warm long after the sun disappears. And the best part, it doesn't cost a dime to run. Another trick the Amish use is compost heating. Most people think of compost as a way to make soil richer, but it's also a natural heater. As organic materials break down, they generate heat, lots of it. The Amish pile up compost inside their greenhouses, letting the natural breakdown process create warmth. A good compost pile can reach temperatures well above freezing, providing a steady, reliable heat source without any electricity. It's nature's own heating system, working day and night. For extra insulation, the Amish make sure their greenhouses are sealed up tight. No drafts, no open spaces for cold air to creep in. They use double-layered walls, straw bales, or even old-fashioned wooden shutters to keep warmth inside. Some even dig their greenhouses partly into the ground, using the Earth's natural warmth to regulate temperatures. Ever been inside a root cellar? That's the same concept. Stable, consistent temperatures all year round. No energy needed, just smart building. They also take advantage of thermal curtains. When night falls, they pull heavy fabric or insulated sheets over the greenhouse to trap the day's warmth inside. It's the same idea as putting an extra blanket on your bed in winter. Simple but effective. And again, no wires, no gas, just good old-fashioned common sense. Even with all these techniques, sometimes the cold still pushes through. That's when the Amish turn to something called a rocket mass heater. Unlike traditional stoves that let heat escape quickly, a rocket mass heater burns small amounts of wood but stores the heat in thick masonry. This slow-release system keeps the greenhouse warm for hours with just a tiny bit of fuel. Efficient, effective, and nearly smoke-free, it's one of the most brilliant heating methods out there. The best part? You don't have to be Amish to use these methods. If you've got a greenhouse or even just a small garden, you can apply these tricks yourself. Start by positioning your greenhouse where it gets the most sunlight. Use materials that trap heat. Add some thermal mass, stones, bricks, or even barrels of water to hold warmth through the night. Consider compost heating or building a rocket mass heater. Seal up drafts, add insulation, and if possible, dig your greenhouse a few feet into the ground for extra warmth. Even with all this warmth, the Amish found a way to store heat even longer using simple materials that keep their plants safe after the sun goes down. The oldest heating trick you've never used. If you think keeping a greenhouse warm is all about fancy gadgets and high-tech heaters, think again. The Amish have been doing it for ages without any of that, and their methods actually make a lot of sense. One of their best tricks, thermal mass. Imagine turning a simple water barrel or a pile of stones into your own personal heater without spending a dime on electricity. Sounds almost too good to be true, but it works. Take a big barrel of water, about 55 gallons, and let it soak up the sun all day. By night, it slowly releases that heat, keeping your greenhouse nice and toasty when the temperatures drop. It's like a heat battery, charging up when the sun's out and giving back when you need it most. Stones and bricks work the same way. That's why you'll see Amish greenhouses lined with thick, dark bricks or stone pathways. They aren't just there for looks, they're working behind the scenes, holding on to the warmth and letting it go slowly, like an old cast iron pan that stays hot long after you turn off the stove. Now here's something most people don't realize. For every square foot of thermal mass, you can cut down the need for extra heating by up to 15%. That's a huge deal when you think about how much it costs to keep a greenhouse warm in winter. But it's not just about tossing in random materials and hoping for the best. You need the right ones. Dark-colored stones, bricks, and even large clay pots are the way to go. They absorb more sunlight, just like how a black t-shirt feels way hotter than a white one on a sunny day. Thermal mass is like that one friend who always hogs the blankets, but ends up keeping the whole room warm. At first, it's annoying, but then you realize you're actually benefiting from their warmth. That's exactly how these materials work. They soak up heat all day and share it with the greenhouse at night, no questions asked. It's an easy, eco-friendly way to keep plants happy without relying on costly heating systems. But let's not stop there. The Amish have another trick up their sleeve: compost. If you're imagining a stinky pile of garbage, you're thinking about it all wrong. A properly managed compost pile doesn't smell bad. It smells earthy, like a forest after it rains. And more importantly, it generates heat. A lot of heat. When organic materials like food scraps, leaves, and manure break down, they release warmth. This isn't just a little bit of heat either. A well-maintained compost pile can reach temperatures as high as 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than a cup of tea. The Amish figured out that placing compost piles around their greenhouses can help keep them warm, especially during cold nights. The trick, though, is balance. You can't just throw anything into a pile and expect it to work. The right mix of green materials, kitchen scraps, grass clippings, and brown materials, dried leaves, straw, creates the perfect environment for microbes to do their thing. These tiny workers break everything down and in the process churn out heat. It's like having a little furnace running day and night, all from things you'd normally toss in the trash. One of the smartest things the Amish do is build compost piles along the edges of their greenhouses. As the compost breaks down, the heat radiates inward, keeping the space warm. Some even take it a step further and build compost bins directly inside the greenhouse, giving plants direct warmth from the process. And don't worry about the smell. If it stinks, that means something's off. A good compost pile should smell fresh and earthy, not like a dumpster. The Amish learned how to use leftover food and natural processes to keep their greenhouses warm, turning waste into steady heat. Beating the winter cold the Amish way. And if you really want to impress your neighbors, tell them your greenhouse is heated by vegetable scraps. It's not just practical, it's also a great way to reuse food waste. Plus, when the compost is fully broken down, you get nutrient-rich soil for your plants. Warmth and free fertilizer, that's a win-win. Now let's talk about wind. Nobody likes a freezing cold draft sneaking into their house, and your plants feel the same way. That's why the Amish are big on windbreaks. They don't rely on expensive insulation or high-tech weatherproofing. Instead, they let nature do the work. Trees, shrubs, and hedges act as a shield against icy winds, making sure cold air doesn't creep into the greenhouse. Think of it like wrapping your house in a thick winter coat. When you block those gusts from hitting your greenhouse directly, you keep more warmth inside. And the best part? These windbreaks also make the area look beautiful. A row of evergreen trees does double duty, protecting the greenhouse while adding a touch of greenery to the landscape. If you don't have space for a long row of trees to block the cold wind, don't worry. The Amish have found other smart ways to keep their greenhouses warm without needing extra land. Instead of relying on expensive heating systems, they turn to simple, natural insulation. They stack thick layers of straw around the base of their greenhouses, lay heavy wool blankets over windows at night, and even wrap sections in bubble wrap to trap warmth inside. Some take it a step further by using clear plastic sheets to create an extra shield, stopping icy air from creeping in. These methods may sound simple, but they make a huge difference in keeping a greenhouse from turning into a frozen wasteland overnight. Heating a greenhouse doesn't have to mean turning up a heater and watching your electricity bill climb higher each month. The Amish have been growing fresh vegetables, herbs, and flowers all year long without relying on costly power sources, and their methods have stood the test of time. One of the most effective tricks they use is thermal mass, which means placing large containers of water or stone inside the greenhouse to absorb heat during the day and slowly release it at night. This helps even out temperature swings, preventing plants from freezing when the sun goes down. Some even use compost piles inside or near their greenhouse, which naturally generate warmth as organic materials break down. This method not only keeps the greenhouse warm, but also provides nutrient-rich soil for future planting. Another simple but powerful technique is blocking harsh winter winds. If you don't have enough room for a windbreak made of trees, you can use fences, hay bales, or even stacked firewood to create a barrier. This stops icy gusts from pulling heat away from the greenhouse and helps maintain a steady temperature. For even more protection, Amish growers often position their greenhouses next to barns, sheds, or other sturdy buildings. This keeps the most exposed side sheltered from wind and snow, reducing the need for extra heating. These traditional methods don't just work for greenhouses, they can help keep homes and outdoor animals warmer too. The Amish understand that by working with nature instead of against it, they can stay warm without wasting money or resources. Whether it's using thermal mass, compost heat, windbreaks, or simple insulation, these strategies prove that keeping plants happy through the winter doesn't have to be complicated. It just takes a little planning, the right materials, and a willingness to think outside the box. Is the Amish way of heating greenhouses just old-fashioned wisdom, or have we been too dependent on modern energy? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.